Today we bring you the soothing sounds of Ry X. Ry was born in Australia but now lives in California. His new album, Blood Moon, finds him working with collaborators from Germany, Iceland, and the US. We find him in Hawaii, where he's sporting a wide-brimmed hat and a wide grin after finally getting to release this new music.
Through the maze, cross the line. She's to play, hold the fire.
It feels beautiful to release a body of work that kind of was kept so tucked away over the creation period.
Right.
It was a unique way to make an album. I'm very inward with my process, but this was like another level of that. I, produced, engineered, wrote, played every instrument on this record. So it was very much, an inward, intimate process. And in many ways, putting it out is the first time you really get an understanding and a mirrorship of this work that you've created. So it feels like a shedding in a beautiful way, and also very humbling to kind of have the sense of connection that people are getting with it.
Right. So was the working by yourself, was that a choice you made consciously or because of pandemic reasons?
To be honest, it was a choice I made subconsciously. There's a lot of incredible creators in California. There's a lot of people that appreciate my kind of instincts and work, and they would be really willing to create with me. And I think for Ry X, it's so much about an inward process of self-discovery and self-exploration. And so whether I chose it consciously or not, there was definitely a part of me that wanted to be alone through this process. And the pandemic, just doubled down on that notion and almost gave me an excuse in a way to fully embed myself in that creative process.
So what was that process like for you for this record? Did you have all the songs written? Were you writing and recording as you went along? How did it work?
No, it's very much a free space. I think, there are very different worlds in music where if you're a producer, you can create sound from anything.
Right.
And then when you're a writer, to the discipline to sit with a guitar or a piano and actually structure a song is a very different process. And I'd say this record is a pretty healthy balance of both those things. But I definitely went back to disciplining myself to sit there with a single instrument in the beginning and start to really create from that place and embed my kind of emotional explorations, existential explorations into song in that form. And then when I took them into my studio on my property, it was almost like I then had the freedom to pull them apart. Other pieces of work started with drum machines or synths, creating drones and soundscapes and then building a song over the top. So there isn't a singular way to the end, but for me, the thing that started to thread through it was this deep sense of kind of emotionality and vulnerability, and a consistency with like the gravity that the emotions held in the work, and that became the thing that led, I think, more than anything else.
Right. Well, you can tell just from the opening track, Let You Go, this is like this kind of softly strummed guitar that kicks things off. Already it's obviously sending a message that this is something more intimate than what a lot of people are doing. And so why is that song leading off? I see you do a video for it where you're kind of out on the beach and stuff. Tell me a little bit about what's going on there.
I don't wanna let you go. I don't wanna let you go. I don't wanna let you go. I don't wanna let you go.
I feel like this song kind of almost became a bridge in some ways. It has this intimacy and this vulnerability of my work as Ry X. And then there's this moment where the song kind of breaks open and changes when the verse comes in and the drums come in, this drum programming and synth bass, and then all of a sudden there's this big kind of drum break release at the end. And so almost this song it tells a story of the larger as well. It says that all these things belong on this album, and this kind of call of emotionality and call of vulnerability to say, like, I don't want to you know, the cry of the heart, I don't want to let you go. It kind of sets a precedent of saying, like, I'm prepared, you know, I'm undressing here, I'm ready to jump into these worlds and explore. And I think the whole record then starts to take shape and deepen around that concept.
Gotcha. The one track I wanted to touch on was Your Love, which you co-wrote with a guy named Frank Wiederman, a German gentleman. And the video you directed, and it's got this kind of, there's some dancers, and it's got this dreamy vibe to it. So what can you tell us, enlighten us about that one, if you will?
Underneath your weight here, falling in your haunted eyes. Your love, your love, your love, your love, your love, where you hiding now? Your love, your love, your love, your love, your love, running out of time.
Yeah, I mean, Frank Wiedemann is a collaborator of mine from Berlin, longtime friend, and we have a project together that's much more based in the kind of underground club scenes of Europe. And he was out playing a show, and we got in the studio to try and write and create for our shared project, which is a lot more kind of drum driven.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, Your Love just permeated through the cracks. You know, it didn't want to be held back. It was this like intimate, heart-wrenching ballad, and it just formed so quickly one afternoon. And I looked at him, and he kind of said, I know this is a Ry song.
Right.
He's like, he said, I didn't want to let this one go, it's so beautiful, but I know it doesn't belong. And so that kind of humility and grace from him to understand that this is like a cry of my heart, and it belonged here on the album. And then, you know, Iceland, setting the scene of this like rawness and like wildness of Iceland, and directing Imre and Mane van Opstal, these incredible dancers and choreographers, and working with them in this landscape, kind of telling the story of you know, this divine masculine feminine question, like how long has this struggle been going on? How long have these two people been kind of like connected karmically or energetically, and what is the thread through this? You know, where is the healing point? And that's kind of the song and the emotion that came as I wrote it. So it was beautiful to embody that concept within dance and performance art, and kind of have that visually represented in this incredibly stark, powerful landscape of Iceland.
Right. And I see that you direct some of the videos, you shoot some of them, you edit some of them. Are you a visually oriented person as well as musically?
Yeah, very. I think once you really step into the role of like, you know, creating art, it doesn't matter what you have. You pick up a pen and pencil, you're painting, you pick up an old film camera. As long as you get the cerebral judging mind out of the way, and you start trusting your intuition as an artist, I think your work can start to permeate through modalities. And I'm very much a visual person. I creatively direct the projects. I love to direct the videos and edit them. And I feel like it gives the community and people that connect to my work a much more pure experience and pure connection to who I am as a person. And ultimately, you know, if people are going to connect with my work, that's what we both want. And so it's twice as much work, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, it is twice as much work.
Yeah.
That's interesting. You said getting rid of the judgy bits, you know, and doing that. So for people who are starting out, that sounds like an important thing to keep in mind. How do you do that? What would you tell somebody who's just thinking about being a musician and a songwriter?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Showing up for the process and not thinking of results, not thinking of the end. You know, the discipline. There's a beautiful quote. Yogananda is, you know, one of the yoga teachers that brought yoga to the West, was with complete discipline comes complete freedom. This idea that when you lean into something, it breaks open, it cracks open. And so as an artist, your job is not to wait for this divine moment of inspiration. you know, part of your role is to show up for the work of excavating yourself and exploring ideas and themes and concepts until they take full shape. That could be, maybe it happens in an hour one day,
Right.
and maybe the next song takes 4 weeks to write until it's done, but not letting go of the intentionality to be there for the process. And then this cerebral concept, like turning off the cerebral mind as much as you can to allow the expression to be much more intuitive. Obviously, you have to get a certain amount of technical prowess with whatever you're doing,
Right.
with your instrument, with the production, but then do that work too. You know, for me, it's like I had to learn how to direct, learn how to edit, learn how to produce, learn how to remix, and instead of saying I can't, because I was like, I can, and I'm going to lean in and learn that. And with all those tools at your disposal, you become so much more of a prolific creator because you don't have a boundary. And so it's about showing up because you need to, because you want to. And if it's based on results or an end game, you're not going to stay through the challenging times. So make sure it's coming from that place and you're being first.
Gotcha. Now, I noticed there's another name that shows up occasionally on your record, Eric Price. I think he co-wrote Let You Go and also Come Back. And you've been working with him for a little while. So what is it that brings you back to working with him, and what happened initially there?
Well, yeah, Eric is a longtime collaborator because I took him out of college. I met him. He just finished, majored in composition and arrangement.
Right.
And I met him through my old drummer, and he was a woodwind player. And then I said, okay, great. This is called a synthesizer. This is how it works. And he's like, what are you doing to me? You know? And fast forward a few years and I'm like, hey, I'm starting to work with orchestras. You know, he's on tour with me and I'm like, I want you to orchestrate these parts. I had, was it David Orban, the guy that done all the strings for David Orban, the Gorillaz and stuff. He was working on some of my stuff and I didn't resonate with it. And I just looked at this mid-20-year-old across from me. I said, you and I are going to write these string parts now. And he's like, what are you, wait, I'm not ready. Fast forward another year and he's on stage with the London Contemporary Orchestra, you know,
right.
And sold out room. And someone's like, who's conducting? And I point over at Eric and I say, Eric's conducting. He goes, wait, I'm not. And I'm kept pushing his boundaries. And he's just incredibly talented and capable. And so, you know, I work with people in my community and I maintain my connection to people in my community. Everyone I direct with, write with, produce with is somebody that's just in my field, in the room with me. Right. So he's been a trusted creator with me in a live context for years, and that just naturally permeated to us rehearsing together and accidentally writing together, for example. You know, it just comes from the process.
Gotcha. So I see you work with Germans, Icelanders, Americans, all sorts of folks. What is there is part of where they're from and where they're coming from the attraction to working with these different folks?
No, it's all about there's nothing premeditated in there.
Right.
You know, I travel the world. I have community and creators around the world. I like breaking the molds maybe of traditional Western major music market mentality. You know, my time living in Berlin was about counterculture. It was about, you know, club music had not transitioned over into the commercial realms. I wanted to explore something that was against the grain. Iceland, you know, is this remote, incredible place in the world, and I started wanting to go there for the land itself, not the people. And
right.
When you're following those intuitions, you meet the people that are on a similar path to you. It doesn't matter where you go. If you're trusting that process, you will meet those people. So it's just meeting like-minded, like-hearted people around the world and choosing to create together.
Cool. So we talked about the first song on the album. Let's go to the last one, Trouble, which is pretty much all you. Is there a reason? And it's kind of this piano-based thingy, very solemn. Why did you choose that to finish the record off with? And
keep me safe. Hold my breath. I'm in trouble now.
The last song on an album is always kind of one of the most important to me,
Right.
almost more important than the first one. It's almost like the thing that I know when I'm making an album, as I almost know what the last song will be. Trouble is this hymn, this cry of the heart. I wrote it and recorded it all within a day or two, and the recording that's on this album is, I think it's maybe the third time that I ever played the song.
Right.
You know, I just sat down. There's an element of improvisation structurally. It's a live recording, which means there's no editing, there's no possibility to edit, there's no click, there's no guide. I just sat at a piano and I had the words written out, strewn on pages, sitting all over the,
Yeah.
piano, taped to it almost like a Leonard Cohen. I had 12 verses written, and four of them end up on the album, on the song.
Yeah.
And so I just started playing it, and all by candlelight at night. And I was reading different, just grabbed the lyrics that felt most palpable and powerful at the time. And when I was trying to put the album together, I kept coming back to this one take, and I'd think, oh, it's too raw. It's too it's like undressing completely in front of people and just standing there. Can I, And then I said, well, that's actually the point of this album. That's actually the point of being an artist. So it felt like the perfect closure point. Instead of an exclamation, it's like a soft drift into the sea. It's like letting go of that narrative. Yeah, it's one of my favorites on the record, actually.
So speaking of undressing in front of people, you're going to be performing these songs. You're going on tour, playing in Berlin, I think, in a few weeks, in the beginning of July. So how do these work live? What happens then? How do you make that happen?
It's very, very. There's a sense of purism to it that's very important to me. These songs, the layers of songs aren't being played back by a computer.
Right.
It's we play everything live, and we re-explore the material to find out what's the most powerful kind of essence point of it to be able to perform it live. And for me, the songs start to take on a much more powerful form after 6 months or years of touring them. And so playing this album is really beautiful and exciting because it allows these songs to start growing and blooming in front of people. And I actually think that the live work is its most powerful, and I'm excited to go back and continue to interpret and reinterpret these songs and find ways for them to live alongside the others. And like you said, undress in front of people. The first couple of times you play these songs for people, it's an incredibly vulnerable experience. So I'm looking forward to that and scared of it at the same time.
Right. All right. And who do you, what kind of band or how many people do you have playing with you? I
have 3 to 4 other people with me on stage. So we're quite a big band. Multi-instrumentalist, lots of looping. I have a violin player that creates these beautiful soundscapes. I have a drummer. I have 2 keyboard players that have lots of different keyboards with them. And I have synthesizers and drum machines and looping stations and guitars and organs, pianos. Like, we really go into creating a soundscape, and then we allow that free expression in the live context, the non-linear end to the song. That one song might be 6 or 7 minutes one night, and it's 4.5 the next. Like, there's a freedom in the way that we play that allows things to shift and change, and the instrumentation, the players actually allow me to produce it live with them, which is really rad. And then obviously the orchestras when I'm playing with much larger ensembles. Yeah.
Well, sadly, we've come to the end of our time, but it's not non-linear. It's boom.
My long answers.
But there you go. Well, thank you very much for sharing all that with me. Good luck with the tour. Good luck with the album. Hopefully we'll see you down in New Zealand sometime or other.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I'd love to come back down and give there. I'm working hard to try and get back.
Cool. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.